it's just pornography. And I understand the judgment that comes out of the fear and the sense of personal disgust that so many of us are still struggling with. But you only have to really open to her presence, and her presence is very strong in the film, to recognize that she really is experiencing the sacredness in existence in her way. So, sacredness for me doesn't attach to any particular path, of course. It's just a quality of experiencing that is available to us as we are able to open. And we have to learn that opening. You know, if you really want to experience the sacredness of in existence, no amount of technique is going to get you there. What's going to get you there is your courage to feel everything that you are. And that does take courage, you know, to feel all your anguish, to experience you without the control systems around you. Then sacredness becomes a real possibility.
Time for another question?
Yeah.
I asked some people, did you learn something from this movie? Because I was thinking, I'm doing it now for, well, 10 years maybe. Kind of, everybody was doing all kind of the same already. So, my question is the main difference that this was happening in the group, your workshop I'm talking about, or what? Another question related is that, as you of course know, is that the 5 ingredients of Orthodox esoteric tantra are fish, meat, hashish, wine, sexual intercourse. Are you making use of these things also in your workshops?
No.
So then my first question, what do you think of these people? Are they not trying to make love already, like you try to teach for a long time already?
I don't think you're asking a question. I think you're trying to say something. I think you're making
No, because I'm trying to find out anyway. Maybe you say, well, yeah, but like what I'm teaching is, or what I'm trying to communicate in the workshops. Well, don't. I mean, it's really worthwhile coming there because you really learn something which you have not learned before. Can you tell me something? What, like when you're in love, of course, you're always sensitive. The world starts getting more colors than before, as everybody knows. So what are you trying? I don't see the point. I mean, my problem
That's
is
what
I don't
I
see
said.
the point of the.
I don't think you're asking the question, you're making a statement. And the statement you're making is, you don't see the point, and there's nothing there. Yeah.
No. That's anyway.
Saw single people, a few couples, but many times you, in the group work, there were 3 or more people having some kind of experience together. How do you feel about it? Works it better if you're with more people, or?
No. Wherever you see more than 2 people together, it's because the structures that are created to enable people to experience something that they have never been able to experience happens more easily for them with a number of people. And the best example of that is the initiation ritual. The whole point of the initiation ritual, I mean, I can show you it very simply. I would like you to raise your hands if your family celebrated your puberty. Now look around, okay, and see how many hands there are in the air. Out of maybe 100 people in this room, possibly 2.
What is puberty? When you
Yeah, let's say your sexual awakening. You're evolving into being a sexual being.
It didn't help. It didn't help.
So that's the point of the initiation. That your birth is celebrated, your naming is celebrated, your birthday is celebrated every year, your wedding is celebrated, even your death gets acknowledged. But who celebrates your sexual maturation or awakening or blossoming? It tends to be the opposite. It tends to be a shaming and a time of going into hiding and of not feeling, you don't go to your dad and say, "Hey Dad, I just had my first ejaculation." You tend to keep it quiet. So the initiation that we create is an opportunity for everybody to experience their sensuality as an honoring. Now what happens is that people go through extraordinary experiences because all the traumas that were buried through puberty and becoming an overtly sexual being gets stirred. And one of the things that I always say to people is, look, the significance of this ritual is not that you have a wonderful time during it. You may and you may not. The significance is that through it you are able to embrace yourself as a sensual and sexual being. Now the way that we create that is through, as I said, people being in groups of 4, and for 2 hours at a time, each one goes through an initiation where they are served by the other 3. Now to have just one person with them would turn it into a very personal, intimate, sexual, more or less fearful situation. When you have 3 people serving you in that situation, it changes the whole nature of it. It really becomes an initiation ritual. It becomes, in a sense, impersonal. Even if your lover is there. And in many of the 4 groups in the initiation, people who are there with their partners often, not always, but they often choose to be with their partner in the same small group. And then their partner is with them and 2 other people as well, of either sex. And that creates a totally different dynamic and a totally different quality, and that's intentional. Because one of the things that we really, for example, want partners who come into our workshops to recognize and learn is that everyone's journey is to be honored, that every one of us has things that we as sensual, sexual, human beings need to learn. And it's such a wonderful example of how loving really means letting be. To say to somebody, "I love you," means I really appreciate you being who you are. I honor your being. I support your journey. I support you finding the experiences you need to find in order to blossom, even if they scare me, even if they frighten me. And people who really love each other can give themselves this. And when we can't love each other like this, it's because we have our own fears. So there's a lot of space for people to learn to be more loving towards their partners. So that's basically why often there are situations involving more than 2 people.
I have a little practical question. I appreciate it a lot, and I would like to have the point of view that to me it seems such a pity that in the old days these things would go natural from family to children, and that now it looks to me as if it's something we perhaps few can afford to get this. I mean, everybody can buy books, so that's a way to get knowledge, but like workshops, for example, it seems to be a very difficult thing to reach for people who cannot afford to go live or something like that. What's your view on that?
Well, I lead workshops all over the world, and people don't have to come to Hawaii to work with me. And what you say is also valid. It's not a lot of people, comparatively speaking, in terms of the number of people there are in the world and the number of people who need this work. It's a very, very small number of people who are seeking it out. But you know, the simple fact is that most people, I'm talking percentages now. I'm not talking to people in this room, for example, because you are a small percentage of the population of Amsterdam who is interested in this conference. You know, compared to the number of people in this city who regard themselves as pretty explorative and turned on and progressive, the number of people who are coming to this conference is minute. It's tiny. And it's the same with the number of people who are willing to explore their sexuality with this kind of openness. We're so afraid as a civilization and as a culture. So it's only in tiny pockets, little oases, where people are beginning to explore this. Now my hope, and you know, it's one of the reasons I so love that this film was made and was so willing to take part in it, is that through films like this, and through the energy that comes out of these little oases, that gradually more and more people will find the courage and the inspiration to explore. This is one of the reasons that Body, Heart and Soul now, as well as being a 28-day program, we've also created a 3-year training. Because we want teachers, you know, we want people who can just offer this learning to more and more people in more and more ways. But it's a gradual process. It starts small and it's growing. You know, and all the time there's challenge to it. For me, that's exciting. Like, for example, in the United States, there's a very, very sexually repressive movement happening there. And one of the funny things about it is that a lot of the people who are working in codependency recovery are actually coming from a Christian tradition of sexual repression. And sometimes it is so bizarre because they are chasing people who abuse their children and who abuse sexually partners. And they want to do something about an abuse that is really happening. But because they are themselves sexually repressed, sometimes it almost seems as though they're not trying to heal sexual abuse as much as they are trying to cure people of being sexual at all. And there's some very odd things happening. There was a case in New York. This isn't Alabama or Tennessee or Kentucky. There was a case in New York State recently, and I have in my briefcase the newspaper article about it, where a woman telephoned a child care organization because she was breastfeeding her 2-year-old child. And she wasn't worried about the fact that her child was 2 years old and she was still breastfeeding it. That was okay. She was worried because she found that she got turned on. She got sexually aroused feeding her child. And she telephoned this organization because she was worried about it. The organization got in touch with a child abuse agency who turned up on her doorstep. She was prosecuted for sexual child abuse. The child was taken away from her, and for 1 year now, the child has been with foster parents and in institutions, while the government pursues its prosecution of the mother. And all this is coming out of a sincere attempt to do something about abuse. But of course, it's totally coloured by the sexual repressiveness of people who care. And this is why